from where people pray to the gods and they conquerors, and practically every president's a money launderer. From where the only place democracy's acceptable is if America's candidate is electable. And they might even have a black president, but he's useless, because he does not control the economy, stupid.
I feel like we need to understand something very clear. A true revolutionary loves his people more than he hates his oppressor. And that's why it's so difficult to be a revolutionary. Because when you hate, you see red. Instead of seeing things in color and seeing the dimensions and perspectives that they have. When you hate, sometimes your hands tremble instead of being steady and your aim is off. When you hate, sometimes you speak out of anger instead of speaking out of wisdom and understanding why somebody else would see something a different way that you don't agree with. So you can understand how to counter the talking points that they have in an argument. When you hate, you scream instead of listening to other people. So you can say, you know what? I know why you think that way. You've been raised to think that way. You've been raised for a specific reason to think that way. That information has been put out there for that specific purpose. We all around the world understand what occupation does to people. This land of America is the product of occupation. And those arrows did not stop going through caravans. Those Native Americans, those indigenous people did not stop fighting ever. The only reason that there's no guerrilla war still going on now is because they killed all of them and enslaved what small numbers they were left and locked them on reservations. And when people come to me and they say, well, what the fuck does you, motherfucking nigga from Harlem, what are you talking about? Why do you care about what goes on there? Because Gaza is a reservation. It is a global reservation. There are reservations all over this world where people have been pushed out of where they live and treated like refugees in their own homeland. You go to the Southwest, you go to the West Coast, I see my Mexican brothers and sisters that live in what they call California, but what I consider northern Mexico, because they are refugees in their own homeland. This is the truth. When we talk about democracy, we must understand we do not live in a democracy. In a democracy, when you go to war, everyone has to vote to go to war. In ancient Greece, they said, oh, we're going to war. Nah, we all gotta agree to this, not just you, homie. When we live in a federal republic, and the difference between a democracy and a republic is that in a republic, people are elected, or sometimes they're kind of elected, to represent the quote-unquote interests of the people. And yet now, a group of 500 people control the will of over 300 million. And then recently, in the past few years, it became quote-unquote legal for one person to dictate the terms of war, to dictate the terms of another country's status as a rogue nation or as a terrorist state. And slowly but surely, we find the cause of our people being brought to the forefront, not just by us, because we've always been here, but by our oppressor, because they can no longer manage to keep it hidden from people. It has to be out in the open. That's why you see movies about Illuminati and other shit like that, because we have to acknowledge that secret societies have always existed. We need to acknowledge the fact that when people say, oh, that's a conspiracy, you don't even know what a fucking conspiracy means, you idiot. It means there's a group of people that meet behind closed doors to decide your life. Really? Word? Did you vote on Mayor Bloomberg? Did you, anybody in this room who's from New York, vote for Mayor Bloomberg being allowed to have a third term as mayor? No, nobody. So a bunch of people got behind closed doors and heard your petition and didn't give a fuck what you had to say. They just decided what the fuck you would do with your life. People say democracy is like sex. Yeah, it is. When you force it on people, it's ugly. This isn't about Jews or Muslims or Christians. This is a land issue. Northern Ireland is not about Catholics and Protestants. It's about the motherfucking land that you people decided to steal and keep as your own. Don't let them confuse you with the issues. Put hatred for other people in your fucking heart. You do a disservice to your own people because they're making you choose their agenda Remember, George Bush made gay marriage an issue in the 2004 election. No one was talking about it before. Why? Because they didn't want to talk about how the economy was going down the toilet. Didn't want to talk about immigration. Didn't want to talk about nothing else. And didn't want to talk about 9/11, motherfucker. So don't forget that. Don't you ever forget that.
Been lied, didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Knock down the let me